row of helmets were all his. Hello, B-Shifters. Nick Brunacini coming to you from the lobby of the AVBCTC. Here in the lobby, we had a bunch of memorabilia that my dad collected over his life. This first row of helmets were all his. So we've unpacking everything. We had all these helmets. We thought, what the hell are we going to do with these? Well, we found a long place we could put them here and thought, okay, that looks pretty good. Well, that kind of grew into this idea where this lobby area becomes like a hall of helmets, which, I mean, there's some mojo there. They're like used actual fire helmets. It's got more magic to them than like sports helmets do, let's say. So we said we're going to go ahead and equip this whole thing. So the plan we have is to fill all three sides of this lobby full of blue card fire department fire helmets. And so that's what we're asking for. If you're a blue card department, send us your helmet. You're done with it, think it's finished, we got to replace this. Send it here to the AVBCTC and we're going to put it up. We're almost done with this big long wall here. We got one more row up top. And so we're doing a call out. Send us your used fire helmet. We don't care what kind it is, what it looks like. You can see right now we've got a whole array of them here. In fact, we've gone so far that some people are redoing their helmet shields to the Blue Card Magic Kool-Aid drink. So they customize them a little bit as they come in. Tremendous. But if you send us your helmet, we're going to hang it in this building somewhere. The idea is we fill this lobby up first, becomes the Hall of Helmets, and it becomes a destination and a portal, a magic mojo portal. In fact, I think, personally, that this will make the world a better place. With all the nonsense going on in today's world, a hall of helmets will help to stabilize this and add a little bit of sanity. Send us your helmet, damn it, and we'll put it up on the wall at the AVBCTC. There's also a challenge coin for the Hall of Helmets. Only for people that donate a helmet. The only people that will have these magic coins. You can put them in a box, put a label on it, stamp, and send it to the AVBCTC. We're at 818 East Osborne, Phoenix, Arizona, 85014. It's a building with a firefighter taking a hydrant painted right on the corner. Can't miss it.
Locate the fire apparatus on the Charlie Delta corner. Go ahead and secure utilities and give me a roof report. Up in the meeting dash all fireground personnel, we have a major time.
Hello and welcome to our webinar for the instructors for this month. We appreciate you being here today. My name is John Vance. Joining me today is our program director, Josh Bloom, and our curriculum manager, Chris Stewart. We're here to not only give you some information on resources that are available to you as a Blue Card instructor. Also, we want to make sure that you get your questions answered too. So I'll be monitoring the questions. We have a number of people checking in today from all over North America. So welcome to everyone. It's really good to see a lot of familiar names over in the chat. So check in and then we'll get your questions toward the end. So we'll talk about the Download Center today, also some simulations available, instructor material. A lot of questions come up about how many simulations there are, what is available for instructors. We're going to go through some tutorial videos that we have available for you, and what is on the dashboard for you as an instructor and what you can anticipate the students have on theirs. A couple of announcements before we start. We have some open seats, just a few open seats in some of these. Tomorrow, we will be in Ocala, Florida for a big box. There are 4 seats available for that big box workshop in Ocala, Florida. We have a big box workshop coming to Snohomish County, Washington, and that's May 4th and 5th. We have openings in that. A Blue Card Train the Trainer at the AVB CTC on May 11th through the 15th. And then a set of May Day workshops coming to Cottage Grove, Minnesota, May 19th through the 20th. There's just a couple of seats in that one, and May 21st through the 22nd. Also a May Day workshop in Fargo on June 2nd and 3rd. A strategic decision-making workshop in Benton Harbor, Michigan, June 6th and 7th. And then another Blue Card Train the Trainer before summer is really on us in Phoenix at the Alan V. Brunacini Command Training Center on June 8th through the 12th. So get online, get registered for those before they fill up. It seems like some folks wait till the last minute, and if you do, it just might be full. We're going to start things today with Josh Bloom with words of wisdom from him and some material that he'd like to review with us. And then we'll pass it over to Chris Stewart, who will review all the tools that you have available as an instructor. Josh?
Thanks, John. And thank you for everybody for jumping on here, whether you're on here live or you're going to see the recording. So I know that there was a little bit of, I guess people had some confusion about, was this the same webinar as what we did, earlier in the year with what we were working on updating, what we've updated, and we're super happy to announce that everything has been updated. And it took a little longer than we thought, but we wanted to make sure that we addressed everything that we had identified that needed to be addressed and update it and fix it. And, during that process, you always find other things that you want to fix, update, whatever. So, a lot of the material and curriculum, is it started like 18 years ago, right? So a lot of those files and whatnot have been updated 6, 7, 8 times. This is probably the 10th update to all of this material. And I think it's the first time that we've really taken a 30,000 foot view and updated like everything that lines up with the next document. So, as we were going through it, there's about 400 documents in that instructor download center. So, and they all kind of support each other. So as we would change one thing, one place, it was, well, if we change it there, it's got to be changed in another place. So we've done our best using Command Function 7 review, revision, evaluation to go through and update all those documents. Chris Stewart played a big part in that as far as getting it all together, but feedback from all of our lead instructors as far as updating and making sure that it's current, and then making sure that it lines up with the 3rd edition of Fire Command, which we're super happy to announce is going to be available at FDIC, not the physical copy, but you'll be able to order it at FDIC for just about immediate delivery. So that's really all I got. Chris, if you want to start into all of the materials that we have for today.
Yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit about what has been changed and updated in the instructor download portion of it, right? And what tools and resources are available to our instructors. And then we'll talk a little bit about what's available to our certified ICs with regards to continuing education and other elements that are there for them to use just in a different way than for our instructors, right? So one of the first areas of greatest change or update is the 3-day cert lab. So you're going to notice in the new files here in the download center, anything that has been updated or changed is going to end with the date or the year of 2026. So it's clearly identified as this was updated for this year. And it allows us to do a little bit more standardization of how we have the files labeled in here. And that was another part of the whole element is, all right, let's figure out how to simplify our naming for the files so things are a little bit easier to find, and you don't have to decode what something may mean, with the old terms that we may have used in the file names. So in the 3-day cert lab, you can see that we went through and we touched just about every component of what's available to teach in a 3-day certification lab for ICs. Anywhere from the schedule and to the instructor guide. I'll come back to the instructor guide because I do want to spend a minute of talking about that, because that's one of the newest items in here. And I think it probably is going to become the most functional item for instructors, especially new instructors, as they kind of learn either new inside their department or a newer instructor from an existing department to better figure out and maybe challenge how we've been delivering certification labs to help departments be able to figure that out, create a better flow and better use of all the tools and resources that are available. We have just updated the command worksheet. There's really not much change that came to it, but it was just making sure that it was in its most updated form. It's available both in a Word document so that you can manipulate, and then in a PDF. So those that don't want to manipulate it at all, they can just, that PDF seems to be a better format to be able to print from. And then the day one PowerPoint is here. All of the certification lab PowerPoints were gone through and adjusted, if I think is the right word. There hasn't been any grave changes or any significant changes inside that. The first change you'll notice is the look. There's a little bit different look that gives us the ability to know what generation presentation that it is, and then making sure that the material in there is up to date with regards to best practices across the United States when compared to, say, things like NFPA 1700 or FSRI's newest research. And then what we know to be the best practices in the incident command system, and really what's going to be in the 3rd edition of Fire Command. So that'll be nice to see. This is kind of the first time we're going to be able to have all 3 of those things. There's actually 4. Our day one presentation, Fire Command, FSRI research, NFPA 1700, all lining up simultaneously and being reasonably well up to date in that information, and there not being any conflicting information to it. So that's a big win, and from my opinion. There's an updated note section, a note file, excuse me, for the students to be able to use when you're teaching, gives them the opportunity to take notes with regards to all the information that you're presenting in the day one. We have the instructor guide that we have printed and published previously with the individual slides. So take the day one PowerPoint and then give some instructor notes for each one of the slides throughout the day one presentation to give them the instructors the ability to better dig a little bit deeper and not just reading the slides and going with that surface knowledge for your students. And then there's the communication center forms. So it's essentially the command board that we use in training, both the front and the back. So give you the ability to print those off and utilize those how you see fit. They're also available in board form, from our store, so you can certainly get them that way. But I'd like to go back up here to the 3-day instructor guide. And JV, do you have the ability to share that? Perfect. So the instructor guide here really is a guide for our instructors. It's a new tool, and I'm going to give the guys from Las Vegas credit because they wanted something to be able to help them be able to deliver classes better and then be able to share that knowledge with all their instructors. So Eric and Ryan and the folks doing that came up with kind of the Las Vegas version, and we took that and they adapted it here to the blue card version so that everybody can now actually see and have a better plan, if you will, to executing a 3-day train the trainer. If you can go to there you go. So here's the table of contents. A lot of information now about just simply preparing yourself and where you're going to teach and what you're going to teach. For the students, helps you better understand, all right, the technology and the simulation stuff that's available, and kind of going through and making sure that is squared away before you're going to deliver a certification lab. Some best practices in that classroom with regards to delivering this and how you want to set your classroom up, what materials you want to have, what you want to share with them ahead of time, so that when they come in, besides just doing the online portion, they have other tools and resources that are going to help them be successful in the class. And then it's broken down into day 1, day 2, and day 3. It's an instructional plan for each one of those days, and what coinciding material is available for you to be able to utilize and for the students to be able to utilize in executing that. The updated information in the day 1 presentation and then the 5-day simulation previews it's all connected, and it's all up to date with all of that. And then the last section is kind of the wrap up and the certification part of that is what do you need to do at the end? How do we check them off? How do you ensure that they're now in the system getting credit for what they delivered and the fact that they actually are now a certified IC? And then what are some of the other things that come along with it, including the ACE credit, the American Council on Education college credits that are available, that we do have a fair percentage of folks that actually take advantage of being able to utilize that. And then anything else, quotes, timeless tactical truths, those types of things that you may want to use with your students as you go through this. So this guide really is a nice setup for us to be able to help our instructors to be able to deliver a better class, feel more prepared, and allow them the ability to better answer questions. One of the things we've changed with the train the trainer is including a whole beginning portion of the why. Why does it matter that we have an incident command system? Why does it matter that the Blue Card incident command system is connected to all of the things that it is? And how does that establish the foundation and the standard for incident command? Because that's really what it is. And being the only incident command certification that also includes continuing education and recertification is important. And so we want to be able to delineate that to the instructors. And one thing that I think I've heard very clearly is we want our instructors to be able to answer the hard questions of why. We're not afraid of the hard questions of why, but we should be able to have good responses and be able to explain appropriately the whys of the system. Having this guide, doing a better job of explaining the whys in the instructor training is one of those, or a couple of those things that are actually going to improve what our instructors are able to actually be able to deliver to our students. Javy, can we go back to yeah, perfect, thank you. So this is all the material in the 3-day certification lab. Again, paying attention to the delineation of 2026, you're going to see a lot of the changes that took place with that. When we move down here, we have not changed any of the CTC wall art, so you're not going to find any differences in there. The material is all the same. There's a slightly different look in the PowerPoint presentation right now, but if you're utilizing this wall art, it's right in line with everything that's being used and taught now. When we talk about some of the general files that have been updated and improved for our instructors, again, this is another place where you're going to find the instructor guide. So if you're not sure where to find it, we put it in a couple different places to be able to be readily available. Same with the command worksheet. Here's where you're going to find the Mayday scenarios. And now we've delineated 2 separate scenarios. So we have residential Maydays and we have commercial Maydays. And those scenarios allow us the ability to be able to utilize a more wide variety of our simulations. And for Maydays, if a department so chooses, people ask us, well, which ones are your Mayday simulations? Well, honestly, all of them are Mayday simulations, because you can create a Mayday as an inject into the incident with communication and have the expectation that the system manage that, the process of managing that through your exercise. So you can do that with any of the simulations. There's information about all the CE choices so that the instructors actually know what CEs are out there, so you can build a plan to be able to share the continuing education stuff and know what you want to assign, when you want to assign it, how it's connecting to what you're doing with the in-person continuing education training. We have updated the task manual. So Clay Fired in Indiana, South Bend has helped us over the years quite a bit. And one of the things is we've received requests over the 18 or so years we've been around for some task level information. Well, Clay had done a really nice job with building this task manual, and this is an actual update to that. So we took what they had updated, so to give the fire departments, a template or a boilerplate to be able to say, okay, we want to create, we're going to use this, or we want to be able to create our own. We're going to use this format or this example to actually help us be able to deliver that. Again, the communication forms are available here. And then you're going to see some other stuff. So again, this is available in a couple different places, but we have new evaluation sheets. And those evaluation sheets are for IC1, IC2, for the support officer, and for the senior advisor. And these evaluation sheets are a little bit different than the evaluation that you would do in a checkoff or in an AAR. And these are really meant to be used beyond the initial certification, or to kind of measure where folks are at the initial certification beyond just the mechanics of executing the things they need to do in any one of these positions. Because what's talked about in these evaluation sheets is the kind of the art, if you will, of being an incident commander. Hey, did they thoroughly understand the critical fireground factors and risk management to execute the correct strategy and to develop an appropriate incident action plan? So it starts to actually start to connect the dots of more of the thinking and the critical elements, the critical thinking elements, of the incident command. So now you have two tools, or you really have three tools. You have what we check off in the system as playing these roles. Then you have what is in the AAR, and then you have what's in these evaluation sheets to be able to define, are we doing the technical elements correctly? And now are we connecting the actual critical thinking elements and communication elements to that? Let's see. We've also added the NIOSH line of duty death report for Tarver. So anybody teaching the Mayday Day, you now have other resources to be able to use. This is the actual NIOSH report. And then the Phoenix report that we cite in the Mayday, the after the Mayday presentation is now available in a file form. So you can actually go back and see it. It's an interesting snapshot of 25 years this year. Going back, in fact, next week it'll be 25-year anniversary, and to be able to see, all right, what did we do in the city of Phoenix at that point, and then really at the end, what I find most fascinating is what did we get right and what didn't we get right, and because there's a lot of things that the fire service has learned since then that allows us to be able to look at that and say, to evaluate ourselves in retrospectively and say, okay, are we actually better now than we were then? And there's a couple then pieces here that were that are legacy or have been around for a while. Their program instructor tools overview, so it gives you a little bit of an overview of the system. And then anybody who's using the violent incident part of the program, there's an instructor guide here for us to be able to use.
Hey, Chris.
Now,
Chris, just
yeah,
real
go ahead.
quick. So on that version 6 program, we know it's from 2019. So the about 50% of what is in there is like screenshots of slides from the old learning management and records management system. But the other 50% of it is how do you certify somebody? How do you maintain certification? How do you do hazmat certification? All of the rest of that. So we're leaving that there, but we have replaced with tutorial videos all of those old screenshots that are in here of the old program. So in a little bit, we'll look at it, but we have that tutorials folder that has a tutorial video on how do you build an event? How do you check somebody off? How do you assign CE from your fire department? So they have to do specific CE, not just whatever CE they want to do. So all the instructor tool parts that are in there, we are replacing or have been replaced with tutorial videos. And then the last thing that I'll hit on that is if we're missing something, or you see somewhere where we should add a tutorial video, just send us a note, josh@bshifter.com, and we'll add it. You'll see as you go through a lot of our learning management, records management, and the AAR that we have we're adding tutorial videos on like every single page. So if you haven't been into something for 3 months, you can watch a 2 or 3 minute tutorial video and help catch you up on how you're supposed to fill it out, or how you're supposed to assign CE, or how you check somebody off, or how you save yourself a bunch of time with just hitting the mastered button when you're certifying people, and it, checks them off on everything. So there's no more, clicking 100 times to check somebody off as IC1 and IC2.
Chris, while we're here, we have one question from Mark Rose that we might be able to demonstrate, and then maybe some other folks have the same question. Is there a Blue Card Day 2 instructor guide? I only see 1 and 3.
There is not a specific one for day 2. The day 1 is very clear because it's built around the day 1 PowerPoint, and then the day. Well, let me back up and say there is a guide and a preview for all the simulations that you're going to be able to utilize in the for the 5 building types through the late afternoon of day 1, day 2, and day 3. And those all have their own individual guide. So look for it more individually based on the occupancy type, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and then that 3-day cert lab, it does address what you do pretty specifically on each of the 3 days. And we understand that people, run these all kinds of different ways, 3 days in a row, or 3 Mondays in a row, or, 6 4-hour blocks, however they do it. And it is objective based, but you should still be able to follow that instructor guide for that purpose. The big thing is we wanted to put that out to make sure that we have a system to do incident command in a standard way and get everybody on the same page. So we should be delivering the program in a standard way. So that's a piece of where that tool came from, with Eric and Ryan, working on that. As far as, it doesn't matter who's teaching it, they should be hitting all the same objectives. And that just gives you a roadmap to do that.
Perfect. So that kind of concludes, all the material that are in our general files. Nothing has changed with regards to the hazmat information. All of the information in there is the same. We regularly kind of reevaluate that and say, okay, what has changed? Is there anything that is, gone beyond what is now functional and appropriate for these things? And we still feel like we're very much in the middle of the ballpark for that. So we're going to continue to pay attention and reevaluate that, but at this time that we hadn't made any changes to that. You'll see in the next set of files is the IC evaluation forms that we have added. Everything that's marked with a 2026 eval or 2026 date on the eval form is the new forms, and they are meant to to be as up to date as we possibly can. We left the other ones in here because some people had still been using those. So my recommendation is that you roll to these to the newer ones, and because eventually these others will disappear forever, just because we're trying to keep everything as up to date as possible.
And that file does have the dispatcher emergency and non-emergency evaluation forms in that file as well.
Perfect. And then anything that has to do with a PowerPoint that you may be wanting to deliver as a part of your program, that is available in the PowerPoints folder, right? And so again, the ones that are labeled with 2026 are the ones that have been updated, and the ones that match what we're actually teaching in day 4 of instructor training. And then everything else is still available here and viable for all the other components, right? The hazmat stuff, the violent incident stuff, and the EMS multi-patient information. So as we start wrestling with these other things, and those parts of the program get updated, then you'll start to see new files pop up, and we'll do the best we can to be able to keep everybody informed as we get things updated. This is a very deep well in the updating world, right? And so anybody who's managed a curriculum knows that keeping things up to date and timely is a labor-intensive operation, but it's what we signed on to do. It's our job, so we're gonna keep hammering on that. Then in the sets and reps files, we have made no changes because the simulations have really stayed the same and our ability to use those simulations. So there's this continuing education part of it, and then there's the sets and reps that are available that are directly connected to the simulations. So our simulation guides have not changed again because the simulations have remained the same. So we get a lot of questions about our sims. The most probably popular question is when is Blue Card going to have more than the 5 occupancy type simulations? Well, we have, and we have for a long time, have all these simulations. And so we're in the 40s now of the total number of simulations available. And there's an instructor guide connected to each one of those and available. So really, it's going to require instructors to get in here and actually take a look around and see when you're building and planning, what you're going to do with regards to your continuing education program, and see there's a guide for just about anything you may want to do with regards to a simulation. Anything you want to add to that, Josh?
Nope, I think, yeah, right on.
Okay, perfect. Then the simulation previews. So they have been updated really with formatting for all of the occupancy types, and they are so they now match, and you're presenting from in the same format of everything. Very little has changed. There's some small wording and some syntax corrections that were made, but not a big deal at all. And so you will find them very familiar with the content that's on the inside for the 5 occupancy types that you'll need to do in the certification lab.
So that's so one thing that's on our pile of to do is to build the sim previews for every single simulation that we have, or I shouldn't say build, but update all of them. So right now, the 5 have been updated for the 5 that you use for the certification lab, because that was our priority as far as giving you current previews that align with best practice and the updated SOGs and all of that information. And really the rest of the simulations are for after people are certified, and we understand that people would like to have a preview that's updated for that. So we are working on that. And I'm not going to give a specific timeline because, as Chris said, there's 1,000 moving parts, but that is on our radar for anybody who was going to ask about that.
Perfect. So then when we start talking about simulation review, so there's reviews for all of the simulations currently, and that's kind of what Josh is referencing, and making sure that the preview and the review is up to date and available for everyone. And then here is our simulation guide. So we'll start with the hazmat simulations. So we have 5 hazmat simulations, or excuse me, 2 hazmat simulations. And all of the files here that are available for them, and then going through all of the available simulations. So you can see that there's a multitude across all the occupancy types of simulations that you can use, and these then your creativity utilizing them is really going to be the biggest boundary in being able to execute this stuff. So can we have simulations with victims? Yes, we have some with victims, and then you can create injects with utilizing victims. Can we inject a mayday? Yeah, you can inject a mayday on any of the simulations. So it's about being able to utilize the system. The simulation doesn't have to necessarily be built specific for that, and they have a broad enough meaning and scope that you can use them kind of as you see fit, or as you need to address specific objectives for whatever training you're trying to execute at that point.
Hey, Chris, just one thing on those too, and you hit it, but it's a topic that comes up, so I wanted to be a little bit more specific with it. Is we get questions about rural water supply, or do you have a simulation that is an example of there is no the water supply is a challenge, or there's not enough water, whatever. Well, I mean, we'd have to have a million different versions, right? So all of those are variable critical factor things that you could inject. But we always say if you're going to do that, it's not a hazing thing. It's to actually exercise what your organization's response should or would look like if, if it was a rural water supply for a house. Well, the house looks like it sits right on the street, but you could still run that as there's no hydrants available, right? So how do you do that? What does that look like? So there's just like the Maydays, just like having a victim, just like water supply, just like people ask, do you have anything that's priority traffic, like company lost water, now they're trapped? Well, it's like that's a Mayday. They're trapped. Yeah, they lost water, but that's just an inject that you could put into any simulation. But we do caution people about creating like a hazing. Oh, this person's doing good, so I'm going to throw this at them. And it's like that's not the intent of running these exercises. We want them to be able to think, but it's not an opportunity to screw with the person to set them up for failure.
Yeah, the vast majority of the time we're training to some specific objectives. And if we're just entertaining ourselves as instructors by trying to come up with the unsolvable problem, that's an issue. We're not actually teaching our people anything at that point. So after the simulations, we have gone through and updated all of our boilerplate SOGs. And again, you will see the 2026 marker on them. And we have gone and looked at our old policies, a lot of the information in 1700 FSRI stuff, taken all these best practices and tried to loop them all together into an SOG outline, if you will, that gives any department the ability to take any part of these. They're all available in Word documents. So you can take all or any part of these and utilize them as you see fit. If you're trying to change or update your policies and you need information from the command SOG to explain, level 1 and level 2 staging, well, it's in there. The position, the roles and functions of the IC, the support officer, the senior advisor, all of those things. Everything seems to be a little bit more clear now and be able to use. It doesn't go into a lot of detail. It's very much built in the format of a standard operating guide, but nonetheless, it's there to help organizations, and then it's very consistent with the blue card system, and allow departments to use any and all of it as they see fit. So that's a really nice thing. We do get a lot of requests. I will say that we're currently working on, we get asked questions a lot about high rise and mid rise, and so we'll publish something like that if we're utilizing the system with regards to those incidents. And we're not going to use a different system, but we're going to. How does it become more complex as the incident becomes more complex to be able to effectively manage that? And then here's probably, let me get back to the tactical templates. So we have tactical templates for a lot of our occupancy types. Those have not been touched. The information in there seems to be fairly relevant to what it is that we're utilizing. These tactical templates exist for instructors to be able to give some background information about these specific occupancy types to kind of help inform and maybe educate members on critical factor, fixed factor based elements like building construction, arrangement, occupancy type, why these can be so problematic for us, or what are the things that we really need to consider when we show up on the day of the incident as we're evaluating the critical fireground factors. And then we get to the tutorials. So here's a pretty good list of tutorials that we have that really cover a lot of the critical elements that we have inside the system. And oftentimes it's way easier for folks to be able to watch these tutorials, on their device. The one we get a lot of question about is downloading simulations and transferring them to an iPad. And this gives a very, very specific step-by-step guidance on how to actually do that. And that is probably way better than us trying to explain it to somebody over the phone. And you can watch it as many times and share it as many times as you want to. to be able to do that. And then the last section in here is the videos section. And these are all the videos that come out of the online program. They're the current online program and videos that reinforce a lot of the fundamentals that we have in the Blue Card system. We have not updated them. There's the vast majority of these are still very relevant. However, as we go to update the new online, then we are going to then we'll take those videos out of there and update them in this file. But I want to make sure that the files in here, the videos in here, match what's on the online program, and we don't want to get ahead of the online program. So that really covers everything, a high-level overview of what's available currently in the instructor download area for instructors. Josh, do you want to add anything else to that before I talk about the CE stuff?
If you can just go to tutorials real quick, and I just want to hit a couple of those, like what those tutorials are for things we get questions on a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So that first one, the CE priorities and email notification. So that tool is set up and available. So if your organization has full access licenses for your students to do CE, then any instructor within your organization can assign and prioritize the CE that they're going to do, so that we want to focus every year, or we want people every year to do May Day and accountability. Well, then you can assign those that they have to do those first before they could do anything else. Or if you have a specific occupancy type that you're getting ready to do simulations on, and you want people to go through it, then you can assign that CE so that they have to do that CE first and they couldn't do anything else. So it does a couple things. One, it streamlines the work that you do when you're assigning somebody, so that they come in with a foundational background, I guess, when you're going to be doing training. So that's a nice tool that we've had and that we continue to update. And if you watch that tutorial video, it's pretty easy to do that. The creating an event and the research that's been updated. So we got there's a tutorial video actually on when you create a new event. There's actually a tutorial video in there that walks you through that. So we get it. You're not in there every day. So if you forget, it's pretty easy. You just can click that particular tutorial video, and then all the rest of them are really kind of explain what they are. But those are the two that we get a bit of questions about. So Chris, if you want to jump to the CE, we're good.
Okay, sounds good. So let's look here at the continuing education availability. So now we're talking about what's available to certified ICs and folks that are trying to maintain their certification in your system. We're obviously an instructor-led program, right? But we have a whole source of continuing education modules for people to be able to do and execute as a part of this. So all of the recertification does not need to be in-person actual live training. You can take continuing education models, say, hey, we're going to be covering strip malls this quarter, this month, right? So have them do the online continuing education model on strip malls. Maybe bring them into the classroom and cover all or some of the tactical template, and then be able to say, okay, now we're going to simulate on strip malls, and we're going to be able to use this simulation to be able to execute that, right? So now you're building a little bit stronger base in all the material that's available to you on these specific topics or these specific occupancy types. And then it puts you in a pretty good position to, once you get ready to do the simulation and you're going through the simulation preview, that it becomes much more easy to agree upon the tactics that you're going to actually execute based on your system and based on the critical fireground factors, so that when you run the simulation, you're running the same simulation for everybody, right? It's not that preview is not meant to build a script. It's meant to actually build some common operating picture. so that we're running the same simulation and we don't have people going out into the left field with, I've been waiting to try this new tactic at a strip mall, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to spring it on everybody in the simulation that we're doing here. It kind of helps you manage that. So there's a whole host of continuing education modules available in here. These often get overlooked because we get asked questions about continuing education a lot. And we're like, well, have you seen the CE modules? No, I didn't realize they were there. So this is just a little bit of an overview. They're oftentimes they are directly connected to things that are either taught in the online program or they're taught in the instructor program, pulling from a lot of the same videos and the same material inside of them. And then it takes you through in an online format. As we start to add them, you can see that there's multiple additional CEs that have been added here after hazmat, basically 37 down to 43. Our newest one being the Traffic Incident Management System CE that was just released. These are all what's been built in the last, I would say, year and what has been produced. And we're going to continue to regularly introduce new continuing education models to everybody. And then as of right now, the Silverback Leadership modules are also available in the continuing education. Let's see here. The hazmat modules in here are meant for the continuing education, the recertification process of the IC or hazmat IC certification. Again, that's a specific certification, so you got to maintain that certification. It's not just one and done training for us. And then you will see, elements of the strategic decision-making model in here in the continuing education. And you'll see occupancy-specific elements in here, and you will see things that are specific to the functions of command. So really, depending on what your training objectives are for any given point in your organization, and you want your ICs reviewing or preparing to have a discussion or training or simulations on any particular topic, it's like you're likely to find something in here that can help them do pre-work, I guess, if you will, in understanding that. Or honestly, if we don't have anything else to do this month, I'm going to assign the review of the communications part of our continuing education program. That's a great review for folks. So there's a lot of elements in here that are available that, again, often get overlooked and aren't necessarily very clear for everyone in the online or when they're online. Josh, do you want to talk about dispatcher or anything like that before we move on?
Yeah, so the dispatcher program was re-envisioned, I'll say, last year, so that there's a version 2 on there. And we have tons of organizations that are going through that dispatcher module, and then they realize that if we would have only talked to our dispatchers before now, we might not talk shit about them all the time. It's amazing when we get them on the same page what they can do for us. And just a recent example of the city of Springdale here in Ohio, and then Cobb County and Georgia, the strategic shift, where in both of those cases, the dispatch center is trained and on the same page as the organization. And when they said strategic shift, the dispatchers already had it queued up and, set off the alert tones and did every single thing that they were supposed to do. So those are the two modules there. And then if you jump up, Chris, there's the ARF program that has the ARF online, and then we already have 3 CEs built for the ARF program. It just launched really about a year ago. So we're building CEs pretty regularly for all of the ARF program. And then you only have access to that, obviously, if you're going through the ARF program or you're an ARF instructor, you only have access to the ARF download center. But if you're an ARF student, you would have access to the ARF CE module if you have that full access license.
Yeah, so go ahead.
I just want to hit one other thing real quick. So in that top left there under blue card, keep going. It has So there's the ACE credential file there that's at the top.
Yep, got it right here.
And then in that same area, so that tells you how you would go through ACE. So that's pretty simple. We've streamlined that. Once you're certified, you literally can just, use this form to get your ACE accreditation for your upper education credit. And then anybody else, not in this case, Chris has this open, so he wouldn't have access to it because he already has access. It would also have the AAR. So AAR subscription would be right there at the top left. So if you wanted to get the subscription, so we made it available now to people who are not Blue Card instructors can get access to the after action reporting system. So if you click and hover over that, it'll give you all the information on how you would go about subscribing to use the after action reporting system. And it gives you all the rules and tools and process to get that going if your organization is adding folks to do after action reports that are not instructors.
We have a question from TC. I don't know if there's a reason we haven't done this before, but he's asking, is there a way to include CE hours in the module title? It can help their staff determine which CEs to take based on how many hours they have left, or really, I guess, what they need.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why we couldn't or shouldn't do that. I had never looked at it in that perspective, saying, okay, I want a specific number of hours or time or whatever for that. But Josh, do you have a thought on that?
Yeah, so I don't know that we're going to add it to like each title, but we are going to have a guide that's in the CE section that you can look at. So Jen in our office is actually has that pretty far completed. So when we're finished with it, we'll announce that it's been posted, and it'll say how many credit hours you get for each CE module.
All right. And then just so everyone knows, this and all of our webinars are available on video on demand immediately following the presentation. You should get an email that has the video after it processes, and anyone who didn't attend will also get the video from today's presentation.
JV, did you want to talk about the simulations?
Certainly. We'll spend just a couple of minutes going through the simulation guide. This catalog is available in a PDF in the download center as well, so it can give you an idea of the sims that are available. Let me give you a quick overview of those, so you can help customize your training according to the sim that you're using. Residential Sim 1 is really a single story, no basement, 2,100 square foot house with a kitchen fire. Pretty easy to knock down with one company on the fire attack, and then some support work from a truck company and a backup line from engine 2. And that fire goes out pretty easy. It's a really good one, just to refresh everyone. Plenty of water, not really any crazy significant critical fire ground factors on that one. You guys are all familiar with sim number 2. The thing I want to point out here is sim number 2 gives us a shortening period of time to go upstairs and get that all clear. So we want to get up to the bedrooms, have that company check for extension, get it all clear while they're out there, because sim number 3 is the same simulation, but with victims. They go to the first bedroom, they transmit priority traffic. We found a victim. We're bringing them out through the normal means of egress, and we have not finished the search on the second floor. Then that really pushes the CE to say, okay, now I need another company inside to finish the search. When they go up to finish the search, they find a second victim in a second bedroom. And then shortly after you remove those victims, you end up going defensive. So it changes our risk management model. It really gives you great talking points with that. And then also the importance of getting all clears and how that's a shrinking time envelope for us to get all clears. And that's something that command needs to make sure is done. And then we can switch over to a yellow or risk our lives in a highly calculated manner to save savable properties. Sim number 4 has a few different iterations to it. This is your Midwest style house with a lookout basement. So we have one with a basement fire that gives you the option of redeploying to the Charlie side and doing a quick hit. B is the same house, However, the fire is on the first floor. And as you can see here, it's a smaller picture, but when you do your 360, you look up from that second floor and you have a victim hanging out, trying to get your attention, which again redeploys you to the Charlie side with a ladder in that case, and deploys another company in through the front door for fire attack. So another one with a victim is 4B. For C, we have an attic fire, and that is again on the second floor, so a little more extension on that one. And this house has all the same features of a lightweight residence that's about 2,000 square feet. So kind of typical what we see in the Midwest. Residential 5A, this looks like a villa-style home. However, when you go around back and you do your 360, you discover it's a much larger home than it looks like from the Alpha side. And on the Charlie side, we identified this is a basement fire. So that's a walkout basement with a basement fire. So it gives us an option to redeploy to the Charlie side to make a quick hit and enter through the Charlie side if we desire, and then redeploy companies to the first floor from our original attack position. And then 5B is on the first floor. Same deal though, when we get around back, we want to identify that that is a walkout basement and where the fire is, so that we're calling that out on our 360s. And I've even seen it in practical exercises where 360s kind of become this perfunctory thing where people aren't really looking up, or they're not transmitting the pertinent information. And this really changes the critical fire ground factors for us because we see the location of the fire. Residential 6A, this is a garage fire. And this really came out after we got the information from FSRI UL, and they identified that we can make quick hits on garage fires without exposing the residents to all those products of combustion that we normally did in the past. So we quick hit that, then deploy another company in through the front door to check for extension and get all clears on the structure once we've knocked down some of those BTUs. 6B is a deck fire, or a fire that gets into the deck from like a barbecue grill or something like that that's stored outside. You have extension into the basement. When you do the knockdown on that, you discover the basement is an unprotected basement. In other words, an unfinished basement, where you do have a couple of trusses that have been burned through, and you need to communicate that to the crews working on the inside. C is a fire on the first floor, so just another attack position for that one. And then D is a fire in a bedroom on the front side on the second floor. Residential Sim 1, this is another courtyard style apartment with long stretches. So it not only demands that you do long stretches to get to the fire, but also the apartments are kind of situated weird. So calling out where the Alpha side is, where the Bravo side on this has its own challenges, but we have buildings like that. So this really demonstrates some of the confusion that might occur in multi-residential. Multi-Sim 2, you're all familiar with. We do that one as part of the certification lab. Multi-residential 3 is an interior hallway. This is a single deep, as we'd say in places, as a single deep structure, or no, actually a double deep structure with apartments on either side of a singular hallway on the inside. And that gives you the option to ladder an adjoining non-involved structure to make your stretch, because if you went in through the Alpha side, it would be like a 400-foot stretch. No fire protection system in that building. 4A, B, C, D is townhouse fire. It's the same townhouse, but with fires in separate areas or different areas in that townhouse. So it gives you an idea of where to deploy there and some of the challenges that come up with that. Commercial Sim 1, we all do in the certification lab. Commercial Sim 2 is a spa warehouse fire where the outside fire gets into the attic space through scuppers along the building. We see this happen in a lot of the examples that we give in our Mayday Day, such as the Southwest Supermarket fire. The Charleston fire started outside and got into the attic too. There's been some other examples of that. This one has a defensive switch. So you get in, you have a well-involved attic fire, and you need to switch to a defensive strategy because you're just not going to control that. Sim 3 for commercial is a defensive fire. Sim 4 is a restaurant supply house with an attack position on the Bravo side from an overhead door that's open when you arrive. Sim 5 is a dollar store type fire. So this really gives you an opportunity to talk about the challenges that we have in dollar stores or similar occupancies where the stock is really all in the aisle. It's very hard to navigate, even not under fire conditions. Again, no fire protection system on this one. Strip Mall Sim 1, we do in the CERT lab. Sim 2 is where we're defensive in the main fire occupancy, offensive in the Bravo 1 and Delta 1 exposures. So it gives you the teaching point of how that sounds and how that's different. Sim 3 is just more structures. This has 6 occupancies. This really can carry on for much longer than Sim number 1 or 2. And then Sim 4 is 14 total occupancies, where you have to get all clears and check for extension and a number of occupancies. Again, more multiple positions for Sim number 4 for strip malls. Big Box Sim 1 used to be part of the simulation lab. It's the tire warehouse. We now no longer use that in day 1 or the simulation lab, but it's a great exercise for you if you're using command teams, particularly a senior advisor, support officer, logistics and safety section. And then we even use this sim to expand up to an EOC operation. So you can make this as big as you want, as much as you want to get creative. Same for Sim 2. It's the same building, but a defensive fire. And then A, B, and C for Lowe's. A is not the one that we're using in the simulation lab, but that fire is about 75 feet inside of the alpha side. So you can get inside and control that without redeploying. 3B is the one that we use in the simulation lab now, where it demands a redeployment to the Charlie side because of the length of the stretch. And then C is a outside gardening area fire that's getting into the building. So that, we see on occasion too there. And then some additional CE content includes managing maydays, the fire ground accountabilities. We went through the violent incidents. And then there's also multi-position sims for EMS A and B, and those are multiple patient fires, not really multi-casualties. It's not supposed to be an MCI, but like a car accident with multiple patients where you need to do triage, treatment, and transport. And then we covered the hazmat, but you have all the hazmat as well available for you. So that kind of gives you an idea of what we have. I encourage you to get into the simulation catalog and look at that, because it will help you decide how you're going to form your curriculum within your department. Going to go back to Chris and then Josh for any final thoughts or words for our folks that have gotten together today.
No, I just wanted to say thanks. Thanks for your patience in doing this. We talked about this in January, and obviously folks were like, all right, well, when are you going to come out with it? Well, it took a minute to be able to get everything together, to be able to make sure that we weren't going to have these giant gaps or conflicting or it's changed here, but it's not changed here. So we feel like we were able to do that to a reasonable level, but knowing that we're in a constant state of reevaluation. And so really the next steps for us are dealing with the new Blue Card Online that matches now with all of the other things that we've been talking about, most specifically the 3rd edition of Fire Command. So the first new edition of Fire Command in 24 years, I think it is. So that will be that'll be a cool task, and looking forward to be able to do that. Want to make it's interesting that how much information and how much video we have of Alan Brunacini talking that is absolutely, completely, and totally relevant to today. And there is zero shortage. In fact, if I could, I would just have him talking, right? But we may need to fill in with some of other yahoos to be able to fill in the gaps. So please look for that to be coming out. We're not going to give a timeline on that, but the goal is to have that out as quickly as we possibly can, but to make it as most effective as we can.
Josh?
One thing I just had one thing to add for instructors and users. So I know Jen gets it every day probably of this doesn't work, that doesn't work. And, we I think we've surpassed 75,000 online accounts now. So if something's not working, we would probably be getting, 500 or 1,000 or, whatever. Or we would wake up sometimes and the email is blown up and it's like something is wrong. But one thing to do is if you're use Chrome or Firefox, seem to be the two platforms that work the best for our stuff to operate. On Safari, for example, if you're using Safari, half of the videos and the pictures and the online and the CE modules don't pop up. But as an example, when I get the this doesn't work or there's something missing, a few of those things we've identified that during the transfer didn't make it over, and we're struggling to fix a few of those things, which is why we're rebuilding so much stuff. But step one with you would save you time is just see what platform you're using as an operating system to for the internet, to operate the CE or the online program. And Chrome and Firefox seem to work the best.
All right. Well, good information today. Again, it's going to be available on video, and we will put it on our YouTube channel. We encourage you to subscribe to all of our platforms, particularly the YouTube videos. It's under B Shifter, and then also our podcast, which is called B Shifter, and that's available on all platforms too. We are going to be at FDIC, so look for us in the Hoosier hallway. So we'll be out there before actually the main floor opens, so you can make plans to come over and see us. The boss will be with us, our boss now, Nick Brunacini, and he'll be there hanging out at the booth. And it's your first opportunity to purchase Fire Command 3. We'll be at FDIC. So come by the booth if you want to get a copy of the brand new curriculum that we are putting out this year for Fire Command 3. We'll have that available for purchase at FDIC. It's going to get shipped to you, so you don't have to carry it home. So you can just come in, scan the QR code, make the purchase, and then you don't have to worry about lugging a book home. We'll send it to you shortly after FDIC. Any other thoughts, guys, before we wrap it? All right. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. We'll be back with another webinar in the next quarter. We'd like to keep you up to date with what's going on. Of course, if there's any questions, you can always call the office or always contact one of us, and we'll try to get you the best answer possible. Thanks a lot, and we'll talk to you all soon.